Well, good morning. Got my headset on with the microphones. I think the sound quality is better this way, even though while I'm talking and wearing these, they do isolate the sound, so I really can't hear even myself that well with the headset on. Um, it's Thanksgiving. I usually like Thanksgiving. I have had some particular problems in the past, and it's been a while, with the ideation of Thanksgiving and with the Last Supper and also with well, with the Eucharist, with the sacrament, with how we celebrate it. It bothers me. It bothered me when I was younger. It bothers me today still. The imagery of it is not. It is unsettling. That's all there is to it. So Thanksgiving, I've always thought is a particularly joyous and neutral day. I have a friend who wants me to read something that a pastor that we know, who passed away a little while ago, has to say about it. He thinks that it's not a good holiday. Well, I guess we can turn anything into something bad. Can we turn anything into something good? Now, I have discovered something, and I've gotten a lot of hits about this on that video. I get a lot more watches on this video than a lot of other things. Oh, don't get me wrong. Some of my videos, I think I reviewed a gun one time that got a few. Some of the videos on RVs, those will get some attention as well. But the one that really seems to get your attention is God's Day of Judgment. Now, this is the book itself, God's Day of Judgment. I happen to have bought a copy of it. It's expensive as heck right now. I sent a friend a link of it. He ended the friendship because I would not believe in global warming with him. That was quite a while ago. And this is a guy I went to high school with. And he went severe leftist and went with all this climate change horseshit, this bullshit. Now, the subtitle on this is the real cause of global warming. Okay. Pluto's been warming up. How many SUVs are there on Pluto that will cause global warming there? Basically, what's happened is that the evil ones have taken over this planet to such a large extent they control the weather. You may not believe me, but they control the weather. I have a friend who has shown us that they basically play handoff or tag using Doppler radar. They actually energize, control, and direct these storms. So when you think about the storms that happened in Carolinas, that was not natural at all. It was man-made. And to top it off, the flooding was not just from this ungodly hurricane at elevation in the mountains, which I've never heard of before. It was also because they opened up the floodgates of 3 different dams on the river. So they purposely did that to those people. And I know you're going to tell me they can't control the weather. Only God controls the weather. Well, the technology is right there for us, and we've had it for a long time. I think that the international treaty was signed in 1974, comes to mind, but it might have been signed before then. And the international treaty, of which the United States signed, is that we would not wage weather warfare on someone else's territory. But it was okay for us to use the weather warfare technology on our own people, our own countries. So when I tell you the government has turned against you, I do really mean that in big ways. This government that's running us today is not our government. It appears to be the breakaway government which we founded after World War II. Unfortunately, I got talked into doing some things in secret, which the public should have known about. But they didn't want to tell the public the truth, that we had not won World War II. They didn't want to tell the public the truth that Adolf Hitler was alive and well and that he had some advanced technology that we did not have. And they had more power. They even threatened to destroy the White House with the president in it, if I read things properly. That was during Eisenhower's time. And those people in our government that have taken things underground and broken off from the rest of the country, they've taken over the nation today. We are not the United States of America. There is no republic. There is no democracy. There is a big shit show in Washington, D.C. It is nothing but a play put on there to keep us mesmerized and keep us paralyzed from what I can see. I don't like either side. It looks to me as though the good guys, the supposed good guys, are too busy spreading what I call hopium. Unrealistic hope and expectations. And they seem to have really gotten off the deep end themselves because their claims are they're off the charts. I don't have much confidence in them. I don't have much faith in them. Can I recognize that they're trying to do the right thing? Well, yeah, but I don't think they're going about it the right way. I do not believe that President Kennedy is still alive and he's Q running things behind the scenes today. That doesn't make any sense at all. This idea that they have body doubles and all these people have been executed bothers me tremendously because that is not something that should be done without the public's full knowledge of it. That's not a fair way to go, period. And yet these same people want to go after the others for keeping, well, free energy secret, the advanced technologies secret, the healing and medical technology secret. They don't want us benefiting from any of it. As a matter of fact, at this point, it appears as though they're full-fledged boogie going to execute this program. Yeah, they're going to execute the destruction of humanity as it's outlined in the book of Revelations. That's what it looks like they're trying to do to me. And it's sad because the book of Revelations is pretty explicit. Now, we in the United States of America, we've lost total control of our country. Complete control. We don't have any control of it over it at all. It is a foreign jurisdiction. We are illegally occupied. There's lots of finger pointing going on. There's some disclosures, and we're getting a sense of who these people are. The problem is we're trying to judge them by ourselves. We're trying to judge them thinking, well, nobody in their right mind would do that. That doesn't make any sense. And of course, I'm always, excuse me, leveled the challenge of prove it. And I'm just there thinking, you need to understand something. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what I believe. What matters is what they believe, and they're acting on it. You need to understand that they are dangerous people. These are very dangerous times. They're poking the bear, and the whole purpose, from what I can see, is they want to get worldwide nuclear war going. No, I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to pull your chain. I'm not trying to, get you riled up about this. I'm just calling out factually. They don't like humanity, and they want to destroy most of us. They've let us know this through so many methods over so much time. Why do we not take them at their word? We need to take them at their word. Now, I want you to get this particular version of my show around. We need to have some open dialogue and open-minded discussions about things. You need to understand that just because this is kind of quaint and old-fashioned doesn't mean it doesn't apply. Just because we have this modern technology with zero-point energy, free energy, and potentially a lot of free stuff, which you all want. You want the free stuff. You don't want to pay for it. You don't want to buy it. Me, I wish I had the work so I could generate the wealth necessary to do the exchanges so I could have what I would like to have. I'd like one more car, to be honest with you. I already know what I want. I picked it out a while ago. It's just a matter of, well, when the money's in the bank and the vehicle presents itself, and it won't be brand new. I don't give a damn what they say. It won't be brand new. I have not read much of this book. That's all I've read of it. That's not even a quarter of it as I look at it. There is so much in this book, it's not funny. This fellow has done so much work. Doug Vogt, V-O-G-T, has done so much work, and he's published his data, raw data in here. So this remains available for you and me to study and to mine for more information. There is more that he has revealed in here that he doesn't understand, in my opinion. However, he's a Jewish gentleman, and he's rather Jewish-centric, which bothers me because his religion has got the world fooled. There is no Judeo-Christian concept, and he seems to operate upon some false assumptions. But he has discovered things for us. And the big deal is he's discovered God's day of judgment. He's discovered the periodicity to the earth and maybe to all of creation. I have not watched all of his videos. They're up there. Diehold, not Diebold, Diehold, D-I-E-H-O-L-D. He calls it the Diehold, which is kind of a weird name if you ask me, to name something after dying. But he claims to have the theory of the multidimensional reality. And I'm not going to disagree with him. He has no doctorate. I have a doctorate. Well, I guess I outrank him. I can disagree. No. But I really want to point out this. He has no doctorate and he has no university affiliations. And it's important to recognize that. It's not to reduce his credibility. It's the actual opposite. A-P-P-O-S-I-T-E. It is the opposite of that. It's the opposite. If he had gone through a formal training, a doctoral training program, he would have never done this. They would never allow it. The gatekeepers would have laid traps for him and destroyed his entire profession before he could get much done. So this theory of his had to be developed separately from the university systems, which the evil ones have taken over. Now, I think it's important that we go to the Bible and we talk about this stuff. And that's the reason why the light's on behind my head. It's so I could light up the pages a bit more. And I've got the light beside me. Reading glasses here. Got my famous white robe, which is too doggone heavy. But we've got to get into this stuff. We really do, because we're hot onto this stuff. It's really pretty close. And so I think the most important thing that I brought about, and this is the most important thing you need to know, and of course I don't like numerology and the hocus pocus stuff about the Bible, the codes and all that. That tends to turn my stomach, and the idea that I'm going to go into some meditative state or have some seance and get some particular energizing intelligence about this. Well, God does guide me, but not in that way, and I tend to stay away from that. I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm a Bible reader. That's all I am. I happen to have the best Bible in the world, and you can get one of those. Follow the link down below, go to the drop-down box. I've got to call the publisher. I want to make sure that the shipping is included with those prices. If it's not, please let me know if you know about that. I haven't sold a Bible in more than almost 11 months, so it would be nice to sell it. So, Revelations 9:11. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon. But in the Greek tongue, his name is Apollyon. You need to understand, this is the king, and this is the bottomless pit. And you and I think, well, it's underneath our feet. Hell's down there in the center of the earth. No, no. The Bible says pretty clearly to me here in this passage that the pit hangs up there in the air. It's the same energy source which gives us the energy to have life on this planet. It blows. That is God's day of judgment, according to Douglas Vogt. And it's coming very soon, and it happens like clockwork. Now, I've been in here enough so I know that there was one Earth age that was not the same length as the other Earth ages. And I haven't got a handle on this yet enough, but my suspicion is that that's when the angels fell to the planet. That's where these fallen angels were driven to the planet. I do believe that there was a giant battle in space, and they were forced here to this planet. And I think that was at least 3 Earth ages ago, maybe 6 Earth ages ago. And so they've been on the planet knowing the periodicity of this and digging in and making sure that their young survive the next Earth age so they can dominate. And that's what the purpose of their genocide right now is. They want to knock us down in numbers so that when God's day of judgment occurs, their children will have dug in and will come out and rule the roost again for another day of the Lord, so to speak. So how long is that day of the Lord? It's 12,068 years. And we do not find that in the Bible. But Doug Vogt found it in the Bible, coded in the Bible. And he goes through the mathematics of it, the formulas of it, and has several tests. He doesn't do it just one way. He does it from several different perspectives. And he proves this mathematically, if you will, scientifically, if you will, by decoding the puzzle that's in front of us that he claims is part of the Hebrew alphabet, the Hebrew language. I have a problem with that. The problem I have with it is that it wasn't the Hebrew alphabet, it was the Phoenician alphabet. The Hebrews borrowed the Phoenician alphabet. And there were no vowels back then, they were all consonants. And where did the Phoenicians come from? They were a seafaring people. They hung out on the coast. They went I believe they went into the Mediterranean because they found a place that had not been disturbed so violently as the rest of the planet had been disturbed the last day of the Lord, which was, by the way, about 46 years ago, just so that you know. So we have approximately 22 years before the next day of the Lord. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, I bring this up because this is a unifying moment. This is a unifying moment for mankind. Because we now, as a species, are soon going to all know that the sun novas, the sun blows, and it destroys basically the surface of the planet and rearranges the earth. We also know that Yahweh set this whole thing up so it would keep going in perpetuity. It would kind of recycle itself. And so that's one of the ways I look at this, is it will be a recycling of it. This is important. You've got to recycle the surface, especially if you have human beings that are destroying the earth. So yes, we have those who are destroying the earth right now. They've got their advanced technologies, fallen angelic technologies, and they're doing things which the rest of us don't have any say over. We don't approve, we don't even know about. So this is a problem. And of course, there are some important things in here. And to me, one of the most important things is the fact that there are about 6 different events called the Day of the Lord or Judgment Day here in the Bible. So I've studied this over time, and I don't have it marked out very well. So I'm going to do my best to describe these days to you. But we do have the ultimate day of judgment, in which there will be plasma displays in the sky. The Earth's orbit is likely to be disturbed. The Earth could actually turn on its axis and reorient for a while. It could stay sideways for a while, or it could tilt for a little while and tilt back. We don't know what will happen with these continents. Now, I had a vision a long time ago that the old men were going to the high places, to the mountains. These men with their ancient songs and traditions and dances, all war songs, all war dances, were going to the high places to do their worship and to do their traditions, with the idea that they knew the earth was going to be changing, and they were fighting in this other plane, this other universe, so to speak, so that their land and their peoples would rise up and would not sink. And from the vision that I had, it looks as though the locking of the continents, they become unlocked for a little while. Some go up, some go down. And that's, we might be in for that kind of a merry-go-round whereby the earth rises and falls. We just don't know. We also know that there's a big belly band of water around the equator. It runs, I think it runs either 400 or 500 feet above sea level. And of course, when you first hear that, it doesn't make much sense. It's like, hey, if it's at sea level, shouldn't it be like, right there? No, that belly band of water is because of the Earth's motion. And it's like a giant snake wrapped around the waist of the Earth. And when the Earth's orbit is stopped or interfered with or alters just a little bit, the water goes all over. The water keeps moving, comes right out of the beds of the oceans. And so we're liable to see anything happen. We also have some strange structures that are under the mantle of the Earth. Some odd shapes and structures down there that have thrown the Earth off a bit. But those, I believe, those aligned with the story that's in the Bible, and my friend is older now, so I can't ask him these questions. He had a couple of master's degrees, and one was in geology, and he was plagued terribly by his sins, and he visited a lot of churches. He did a lot of Bible study, and he told me this more than 5 years ago, and he's forgotten this. He tells me that they found a passage in Genesis that describes the Earth colliding with another planet. And he says this was about 4 billion years ago. This is what I remember him telling me. And I take him to lunch once in a while. He's in a transitional home. He's not doing too well. I won't be seeing him much longer. I know that. He's wasting away. Still got his mind going pretty good. He's been in that place 4 years ago. He fell, and his family and children put him in there. He says that another planet slightly smaller than the Earth collided with the Earth. And as a result, those elements from this other slightly smaller planet were merged into the elements with the Earth. I think we see that in those structures that are in the Earth that we can map out through some sort of sonar or radar technology. We can see those structures and we know where they are. So it's not a very symmetrical or perfectly formed Earth. And he says that because of this other planet colliding with the Earth has a preponderance of heavy metals on it, more heavy metals than it would have normally or naturally without such a collision. And because of those extra heavy metals, we have this advanced life form on Earth. So apparently the stories about Enki or the Sumerian stories, where one of them aligns a couple of planets to make them collide, there might be a little bit more truth to that than what you think. Now this day of the Lord is going to result in most of us being killed. And I've tried covering the Bible from the standpoint of Yahweh repenting of the evil he's planned for us. And that's why I did 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, the book of Jonah and the reading of that and the lessons that I have pulled from that. And I know there's more in the book of Jonah to be learned. If you want to take the time and do it and put some notes down here for the rest of us, I'll put it up. You know, I'd entertain it. I'd welcome it. So we have a problem, is that in 22 years, the whole planet is facing this event, this catastrophic event. Now, it's not total catastrophe because the Earth does get, well, the Earth grows a little bit. The Earth gets bigger. Each one of these times that the sun novas, and I know some of the physicists didn't want us panicking so much, so they used the word micronova, and John, and I guess some people are using that term to make it a little easier to swallow. But the fact is that it hits the planet, and it depends upon which side of the planet's facing the sun. And you may think, well, the other side is safe. No, not really. Not really, because when that thing blows and this field just pushes out the other side of the planet, we end up with some severe freezing, like flash freezing. That's why we end up with mastodons, whole, intact, flash frozen. We're talking about tons of a body being flash frozen. So it's perfectly preserved, and the buttercups are perfectly preserved in the elephants, in the mammoth's stomach and in the mammoth's mouth. The mammoth doesn't even have time to exhale, to spit out its cud. And the shellac, space dust, that is irritating the sun as we go through this neck of the woods, through this part of the galaxy, which is like clockwork. It irritates the sun, and the sun blows that shell off. And we found some of those glass beads on the moon. And glass beads, it's not very accurate. The most important thing are the radioactive isotopes, which we can identify and measure. And we've come up with the correct periodicity for the blowing of the sun. And the Earth's mass will increase. I heard from one fellow, he claimed it would increase by 0.5%. So instead of it being 100% of what it is today, it's going to be 100.5%. And of course, if that happens, that's going to throw the mechanics of the sun off. Well, it'll throw the mechanics off for everything slightly. So everything is going to have to get used to each other, so to speak. The day of the Earth, the resonant frequency for the Earth, the day length will probably change. It's probably going to get just slightly longer. And maybe just a quarter day longer, maybe a full day longer. Maybe only an eighth of a day longer. It's going to be slightly longer. And also, the angle of the Earth is going to be a bit different, and we don't know where it's going to be just yet. There's been enough science and research. It has all been hidden from us, and that stuff needs to come up to full fruition. There's absolutely no excuse for these universities to exist anymore because they've become nothing but liars and thieves, and they help murder us off with the elite want. They reduced our population by approximately 1 billion people this last go-around. Okay? And they like to take huge numbers at a time because they got a job to do the way they see it, and they want to reduce us to, 500 million from 8 billion? That's a pretty tough reduction. The problem is that God's day of judgment is probably going to happen before that. And you see, they've already dug in. They think they built cities, and they think they've set themselves up underground, and they have taken vast sums of money from the United States of America in particular, but from the whole planet, and shoved it in their holes in the ground, secret from the rest of us, without the consent or knowledge of the rest of us, without us benefiting from that technology, and keeping our lives shorter and dumber, and poisoning us more, and killing us left and right, like in Lahaina, or Loving, California, or is that Palestine, Ohio, where they put those dioxins deep into the soil, and the train was just an excuse. And we have the evidence. These radar systems pass, the Doppler radar passes the storms on. They can hold the storm up and intensify it. They can dissipate it. They can direct it. They can move it forward. They can energize it. They can dissipate it. They have full control over that. They spray us all the time with metals and things which shorten our lives and are bad for us and allow them to have all kinds of control. They actually can create these incredible explosive forest fires because of the aluminization of the trees. The aluminum goes into the water, it's into the tree root, goes up into the tree, and that's why the tree will burn from the inside. It's the metals that are in it. The metals are also going in our bodies, slowing us down and throwing us off. Your autism is primarily caused by manganese and some other heavy metals that are throwing the brain off, the timing in the brain, the nervous system. We know because we've watched through different experiments a long time ago, and we figured out that these poor autistic children, it was like they were out of sync. We would present a clapping of the hands, if you will, on the side of the head, an auditory stimulus off the side of the head, and we would film this, and then we would count the number of frames before that baby turns its head in the direction and oriented in the direction the sound came from. We found out it was motorically delayed the same exact number of frames, which indicates that his nervous system is out of time because of the heavy metal poisoning. That heavy metal poisoning is going on with all of us. They spray us all the time. We need to get them to stop that. I don't think Trump is going to save us from any of that. This information they're giving us, to me, is like subterfuge, because they're giving us hope. And according to one of my older brothers, who I've never met, I'd love to meet him. Hopefully I'll get to meet him this next summer. He says that what you give your enemy is hope, not despair. You want to give them hope, because then they won't take action. And that's exactly where the American people are. You have hope right now because of this election. Have you listened to Sebastian Gorka? The guy's he's a Looney Tune. He's nuts. He's certifiably insane. He should be committed. Have you listened to some of the other people talking on behalf of Trump already? It's not sane. They want to create laws so we can't criticize Israel, that we can't criticize the Jews. It'll be regarded as anti-Semitic. And the fact is, we're dealing with a group that aren't even Semites. They're imposters. They're not descendants of Israel the man. They're not from that area at all. They're Turkish-Mongolian stock. They're closer related to Genghis Khan than they are to the Israelites. And of course, we've been told that there's a Judeo-Christian heritage. There can't be one. How could there be one? Well, they gave us a Bible, the Schofield Reference Study Bible, with more more notes and study and commentary than Bible itself, and they lied in the margins. They told you Moses was a Jew. Really? They had Jews back then. No, they did not. They tell you that Abraham was a Jew. Oh, really? He just barely came out of the people at Haran or in Ur, those people that had a polytheistic religion going on. His dad was big into it. He destroyed some of their gods, got in enough trouble he had to leave town. Yahweh wanted him gone anyway. They wanted to give us a unifying event, and that unifying event was the invasion of the aliens. And Werner von Braun, on his deathbed, warned us that this was what was coming and this is what they were going to do, so they could stay in power and keep power over us. Well, I got news for you. Yahweh's got bigger, better plans. The year's 2046, according to Doug Vogt. October 16th, plus or minus about 60 days on either side. He says that's the window of opportunity when this is going to happen. Okay. I think that we as mankind, I don't know about this, and we ought to be trying to work together to get up some sort of survival centers for good human beings so we don't end up with the devils rising from the next set of ashes, controlling the planet. Now, I'm going to give you some hopium and be a little bit of a, well, I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite. Now, the hopium I'm trying to give you right now is simply that Yahweh's going to basically take a shot at the planet again. Every 12,068 years, takes a shot at this planet. Hits it with the blast from the sun, novaing. It also begins an ice age. Don't know how long those last. I've tried to use the Bible in ways that probably it doesn't work. But I tried to draw parallels from the florid nature of the language of the Bible to understanding this. And that does help me in terms of coming up with ideas and brainstorming. Does it give me the right ideas? Well, I think it helps. It helps me to understand that there could be more than one perspective that's true around a particular story or a particular event. So, we have the return of the Messiah a little over 2,000 years ago, and that happened. But here's the other deal. We have several different things described as the day of the Lord. And probably the big one is when Yahshua puts his foot down on Mount of Olives. From what I read, that's what he does. And there's a big earthquake, goes from north to south and opens that valley up. That to me is a big day of the Lord. We have other descriptions of the day of the Lord. He returns dressed in white with an army of warring angels behind him. And he's come dressed for the harvest, for the slaughter, for the killing and the judgment. So we have that imagery in there as well. And that's horrible imagery because it says the Jordan is going to be filled up to the horses' stadia, up to the blinders on their eyes with blood. In order to fill the Jordan River up, which is really broad in some sections, when it floods, it's over a mile wide, you would have to you'd have to kill so many humans, it's not funny. You would have to kill maybe a couple billion. It's huge. I had a friend who hung out with some rabbis. Well, he was an acquaintance, actually. I knew his father better, liked his father quite a bit. And he did the math on how many quarts, the volume of blood and all that, and come up with a number of humans that had to be sacrificed for that. How a man can take pride on being able to figure out something like that is it's a little on the dark side. We have other descriptions of the Day of Judgment. We have a couple of descriptions. One is of a rock, a millstone being dropped into the ocean, and the report going around the earth, meaning the crackling of the earth's crust, and also the tsunamis that would generate. And from looking at the scriptures, it looks like that would happen in the North Atlantic. So we've got that day as well. That's the day of the Lord. Then we have what looks like a fiery mountain being dropped into the sea on top of it. So here's another potential day of the Lord. And then we have allusions to the planet Wormwood. And we also have another grand descriptor in which the sun turns to sackcloth. Now, that's an important description because that means the sun is black with sunspots. Or maybe it's black just before the nova, just before the sun blows, to get rid of that irritating dust that's accumulating on the surface of it. And by the way, that dust is accumulating on the earth too, because our electromagnetic shield, the shield that actually guides space dust away from the earth and sort of protects us, and also helps keep our atmosphere here on the planet, that's been weakened quite a bit. We have a description in which all mammals above ground go blind. That includes man. If that's the case, we'll definitely be living in caves again, coming out at night. And of course, it's going to be a hard lesson to learn, because some of us are going to pop out in that light and go blind. So it's going to be a rough one to learn, and there's going to be some people we'll have to take care of. And you may think, no, it's not going to happen. It's never happened. Well, what about the cave dwellers and the paintings they left for us? What about the artwork they left up there for us? They left a lot of stuff. They left some very ornate stuff and very elaborate stuff. There's some important messages that they're trying to tell us in there. And I'm going to tell you, some of the things that they saw and they painted in the cave walls are kind of scary, because those turned out to be plasma displays, which means basically we're going to have plasma discharges up above us that are going to make it impossible for us to wander safely on the planet. So we will be hunkered down for a while. One of those is Squatting Man, and just my guess is Squatting Man probably was a plasma display which came crashing down to the earth like a man squatting on the earth, maybe destroying everything under it, everything in his path. It is an electric plasma discharge display, tremendous energy. It's going to be pretty scary. You do not want to wear anything that conducts electricity at the time, or anything that really insulates it overly as well. You want to be able to be well grounded so that somehow you don't get struck by this stuff. And here's what gets me, and this is what I have to tell you. What stands out above all their cave dwelling pictures, and these are over 12,000 years ago they did this. Remember that? That's when they were stuck in the caves. That was another Earth Age. And they have the menorah, the candelabra, if you will. They have that symbol up there. They did that. They saw that in the sky. It's a plasma display. It's not a Jewish symbol. It's a symbol borrowed from the Earth Age. So which one of these days of the Lord happens first? And I know I haven't done a very good job of conveying these to you, but I'm trying to tell you that there is more in this Bible than what you think. And I hope you go and you read it. As far as getting this book, I believe you can get the Kindle edition. I suggest that you get it, maybe even print it off. This is pretty incredible, the work that this man did. And does he have it all right? None of us has it all right. There are definitely some things that can be challenged in that. And what about this? This is the newest and the latest and the greatest in the English language and in Medano. And I don't know what other languages it's been translated into. I really need to get up on things. This is the most accurate and best version of the Bible we have available to us today. It is called the proper name version of the King James Bible. And the interesting thing that even Yahweh in the Old Testament, through his prophets, said that his name was going to be removed from the Bible. The people were going to forget his name. That's right. And about 300 years or 500 years later, I've got to read this and look for it and study it a little closer. Then came along a fellow named Ptolemy II in Alexandria, Egypt, in about 274, 275 BC. He translated the Bible. And that's at least 300 years after the major prophets, maybe 500 years afterwards. and he took out the name of Yahweh and the name of Yeshua. Well, actually, at that particular time, I love it when I catch myself. Yahweh hadn't appeared on the scene. Yeshua hadn't appeared on the scene yet, but Yahweh was in the Bible properly. Of course, the New Testament had not been composed by then. I love it when I catch myself. So, they took the name Yahweh out, and we only recently, since about the 1800s, started to stumble across that name and fill it in with the extra letters so we can actually pronounce it and come up with it. Now, that's the most likely the correct name. There's some other versions of it as well. We have an appendix that explains it quite well in here. You would think I would have it memorized because it's not very long, but I don't have it memorized. And there's a couple of twists to it, so it still throws me just a little bit because of the similarities. But the main thing I want to get across to you is the Jewish faith was not codified, canonized, so to speak, put down into writing until after 400 AD. 400 Anno Domini, 400 years after the approximate birth of Yeshua the Messiah, Jesus Christ. Jesus the Christ. So, we need to sort things out a little bit better right now. And the problem is we're not reading and paying attention to the Bible, and we also aren't listening closely enough to the evil ones. And most of you out there don't believe that evil exists, and you also believe that Jesus can save anyone. And the Catholics will say that all the time. Jesus can save anyone. Really? What kind of justice would that be? Not everybody is going to be saved. And there is evil out there. And there are gradients of it. And there are different people meshed in different levels of it. So it is a true fight between good and evil. They've been hiding their identities and their presence on the planet from us for thousands of years, at least 3,000 years. So when you bring up to me other accountings of the Bible, other versions of the Bible, I don't disagree with everything that I see. There's some stuff I find agreeable. But the fact is we're dealing with an ugly people, descendants of Cain, who murdered his half-brother Abel. And the Canaanites settled in the land of Canaan. And that is the land that was promised to the Israelites. And the Israelites did take it for quite a while. But then the Canaanites rose up among them, and they took over. By the time Yeshua was born, Herod the Great, an Idumean, another word for Edomite, Idumean, I guess I should say. So Idumean is the Greek word for Edomite, which is the Aramaic Hebrew form. And so Edom is red. Esau's name was changed to Edom when he sold his inheritance for a bowl of red Edom porridge. And there's more to that story than meets the eye. Apparently, he had been running for 3 days and 3 nights and was famished and had not eaten and was ready to die from hunger. And he had been running from Nimrod's bodyguards after he had killed Nimrod and stolen Nimrod's garment, which supposedly was Adam's garment in the garden. So I'm going to dump my info as fast as I can on you. Yes, I want to amaze you, so you might actually come back. You might stick around for a bit. I want you to get this word out. I'd like to grow the channel. I'm a little over 556 in terms of my subscribers. I have 2 other channels that they've reactivated. I'm not going to populate those. I'm going to stick with this one because this is where the bulk of subscribers are. Oh, I've lost 1 subscriber. I'm down to 555. Okay, that's not too bad. That's better than the other 2 channels did. YouTube took those down, one because I was talking, actually I talked truthfully about the fact that cancers seem to, the medical profession is not practicing properly, in my opinion. Let me put it that way. And that's why there's so many cancers. And our keepers also are doing their best to poison us whichever way they can. So that's also why there are cancers as well. Now, there could be some other reasons for it as well on top of that. It could be lifestyle. A lot of it could be very much lifestyle. Matter of fact, the genetic studies that are proven to be false, that only 7% of the total variants for the causes of breast cancer are genetic. The rest of it's equally divided between lifestyle causes and environmental causes, toxins and poisons. And lifestyle causes, they don't want you hearing this, but if you look at one of my old blogs that's still archived and up, you'll find a study by an Indian physician in which he tells us the percentage risk for breast cancer after an abortion. And if you look at it closely enough, you'll see some guy that had the audacity to come up with a treatment and a possible cure for women who have had abortions. And a lot of you women won't like it because it's not possible for you to get pregnant anymore. But the fact is that I believe that if a lady has had an abortion, if she gets pregnant, she can get pregnant, and she gets pregnant and has a baby to full term and nurses the child, I believe that her body will reverse its attack on itself and she will escape possible breast cancer. This Indian fellow, by the way, he had it down, such a science, and of course we're required to say it's only correlational, it's not causal, but the way I see it is it's there. So late-term abortion, it's like the incidence of breast cancer is way the hell up there. And of course we have girls that have been running around interfering with their cycles so that they can have free sex. And the basic results is they've invited these attacks of their own bodies upon themselves. And we do have a fellow named Dr. Derry, a PhD and an MD out of Canada, who wrote a book on treating breast cancer without cut, slash, and burn. His license was pulled because he revealed too many of the secrets and gave people a legitimate way to treat their cancer without having to go through all that disfiguring stuff. Did it work very well? I don't know. Don't ask me. We're not allowed to really do that research and even talk about it. We are in a rough place and a rough time. Humanity does need to unite. We need to get rid of these people in the background that have been making us go to war with each other. We need to get rid of the money changers. The banking system, this phony banking system whereby they stole it all and exert this power over us. We need to crash that. We need to go back to silver dimes, silver quarters, silver currency, real stores of wealth. We have to get rid of what we call an education system. It's nothing more than a public indoctrination system. It's very simple. We eliminate the education at the federal level. There's no more financing or standards set for education at a federal level. I know we started off that way, and we started off pretty innocently, but even the guy who started that off, he misled us a little bit. He had an agenda, so he threw the nation off right from the beginning. So it is, and also we cut down the federal government. We remove the welfare state at the federal level. It's not legal for the federal government to do it, so we get rid of all of that. We also get rid of the EPA. There are other government agencies that protect the environment far more effectively and far more powerful behind the scenes. We don't need that. The Department of Agriculture appears to mishandle our resources and also proffer poisonous substances for us. They really do sabotage our health the way it's run. The same with the Department of, with the FDA, the Federal Food and Drug Administration, which, like the Federal Reserve System, doesn't appear to be really a part of our government. And I don't understand that, but that's the way it is. We need to get rid of all of these extra agencies and all the money that's wasted upon them. The federal government's not allowed to do that stuff. State governments, maybe, but federal government, never. And the state governments have to have a republic in place, not a corporate government. These corporations that they have registered with Dun and Bradstreet and everything done for profit, including your police doing policing for profit. That's absolutely horrible stuff. So we need to come together as a people across the whole planet. Yes, we need to unite humanity. And I know we're several different species, actually, but it's become one big melting pot. And the problem is that the whole Earth and the Earth's ability to support life is hanging in the balance because of these jackasses that are threatening to take us to a nuclear war. These people that Trump has appointed that have mouthed off about anti-Semitism, restricting free speech rights. Sorry, Kristi Noem, you shouldn't even be anywhere near D.C. if that's your attitude. You're violating. That's a violation of your oath of office. Maybe we should try you for your treason based upon that. We really do need to go back to the Constitution and to the original 13 amendments. The 13th Amendment overwritten by Lincoln because it was overwritten by Lincoln with the Anti-Slavery Amendment. And Lincoln, there was no Mr. Lincoln. His father's name was A.A. Springs. His mother's name was Lincoln, but his grandfather's name was Rothschild. So he was our first Jewish president, as far as I can tell. It's time we celebrate that and acknowledge that. He actually stumbled into doing some good things for the country, but he didn't start off as a good guy. He was an attorney for the railroad system that was busy stealing land and hurting people. Seems to be the American tradition. We need to return to the roots of our civilization. We need to return to the original structure our founders gave us. We need to do that and chop this federal government down. We do not need any Department of Education or public indoctrination. All of these universities have been instrumental in harming us. They should all be forced to fend for themselves. There should be no National People's Radio, National Public Radio. That's nothing but a communist entity. And that's what the universities have become, and that's what the schools have become. There should be no required education for children. It's up to the states. It's not up to the federal government. The federal government needs to step out of that stuff. We need to unite humanity. How do we do that? We unite around the law of life. It's the same code pretty much for all of the different religions around the planet. It shouldn't be too hard to agree upon those. And if we can't agree upon those, then we have borders. We have boundaries for good reasons. So if they're not going to agree to support the Constitution, don't allow them into your county. Hearing something. It's a heating system. It's on low. You get to hear it too. It's not nearly as loud as a propane furnace, and this is the low setting. There's a medium setting as well. I'd appreciate your prayers. I'd like a couple thumbs up. Share this and get this around, because people need to understand that we're facing a deadline in 22 years. And that right there should be enough to unite mankind. But some people are going to go off the charts as far as wanting to exploit and indulge all they can between now and then, because they figure the life is over at that point. Well, me, I know I'm going to be older at that point. I understand that. And maybe I won't be alive then. It's probably most likely the case. But the fact is that we need to prepare to get some of our children over the finish line into the next stage. And I believe Yahweh, and I believe the entire planet, senses our vibe, if you want to, senses our status. I believe that we put off different odors, believe it or not, that are picked up by other organisms. And there's actually organisms in the sky, according to Pastor Jerry Wiki, that cause rain. And if they don't like the smell that they smell from humans down below, they withhold the rain. Is that true? Probably. I think the whole earth is a living organism, you know, and I think that our purpose is to save our Mother Earth. I'm not saying we worship our Mother Earth, but we need to put an end to these men and women who are destroying Mother Earth and destroying the Earth's ability to have life, to provide life for the rest of the species. These people have already destroyed that asteroid belt. That was a planet. They destroyed that. Mars, you can see the what's left of the cities on Mars in the pictures. They destroyed the atmosphere on Mars. And now they've got incredible weaponry on this planet that I think is planet-busting stuff. And we need to shut it down. We need to stop them. And they lie to us all the time. This administration in Washington, D.C. is nothing but a bunch of criminals. You could take them all into custody, as far as I'm concerned, and debrief each one of them. Look and investigate each one thoroughly. You could do that while you have a real, truly elected government of the people occupying the organic government, the real government. Probably should do that at the same time, because we need to mine those people for data to learn what the truth is so we can correct the history books and the science. And I say that we give them a period of grace. If they're willing to talk and work with us, fine. Keep them going. If they turn their backs upon us, well, fine. Then we execute what happens to all traitors. I don't like what they've done and what they're doing. I don't like the games they're playing. I don't like this stuff. And I've done my best to dump my energy and everything on you as fast as I can. I've gone over an hour, 2 minutes. I apologize to you. So this is my Thanksgiving message, and this has to do with the day of the Lord. Embrace it. Accept it as the fact it is. It is the reality. The evil ones can't escape it either. May Yahweh bless.